Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 3 and episode number 260 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cry Media Network. Yeah! Something weird going on with the back of my hair again today. All right. Today, recording day is Monday, November 27th, 2023. And I actually, looking out the window, it looks like it's going to be a dark and cloudy day here at the Beaver Lodge, but maybe not. It's still a little early. So the sky's a little dark. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And once again, we did not coordinate. Nope, we are just pretty in pink today. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. I think we have a bit of a bite for you this morning, unless Mr. Grizzly has a heart out. And before we do anything else, let's do the most important thing we do on every episode, which is say good morning to you, sir, and ask how your mental health is doing today.
Well, good morning, Mr. Beaver, and we're just going to gloss right over that.
All right. Wow. Okay. Gloss
Yep.
right over that.
Right over it.
I
just move on to the show.
Okay, then I'll talk about mine. I'm can't actually tell, to be honest. Like I'm in good spirits, as I usually am, because I'm hardwired for optimism. But you know, as you know, I've been struggling with some pretty bad insomnia the last 45 days now. I've gotten one additional night of more than 5 hours over the course of the weekend. So yesterday I felt great, especially as I went to vote for the Ontario Liberal leadership. There was a lot of people, at least at the polling venue for the riding, the electoral district of Kingston and the Islands. Now, of course, I don't know if that specifically was because one of the candidates is in this riding. But it seems that turnout was pretty good in certain areas. In other areas, like Oshawa, for example, wasn't so good, at least based on reports at the time that I went to go vote. I did get to bump into Ted while I was there, and I said that his on the ground information was that there were certain places that they didn't think that the turnout was all that great. So we'll see what happens. We get the results this coming weekend, but the campaigning and voting is over. They're just counting them right now. So Nate Erskine-Smith had expressed, his team had expressed a desire for him to come, but we couldn't find a time. I'm going to extend the invitation. Yasser Nakvi's team did respond and say that they couldn't, obviously, with the number of days left, but I'm still going to write back, and hopefully we'll be able to get them on, ask them about their experience. So the only candidate that did not give us any response whatsoever was Bonnie Crombie,
Mm.
their team.
Well, I wonder why. Because, if they've ever watched this show, they know how I have a strong distaste for the Premier of Ontario. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Bonnie and Dougie like good friends?
I totally have no idea, to be totally honest. But I was really interested in getting her perspective, not only what she wants to do as leader, but because, of the four candidates, she's the only one that's actually been a mayor. To
Mhm.
ask some questions, how development deals like this should go down, right? Because she's the only one that has that experience of those candidates, and to ask what her relationship with developers are, because obviously Ontarians are concerned about that, and how would she promise that we wouldn't have another situation like that if it was her, right?
Well,
I think that's a legit question. It's not a gotcha one. It's just
it's a legitimate
it's like
question.
you're a mayor. All the permits come from the city, so
Please explain to us how it won't happen that way.
and not in a gotcha way, just not like I'm setting a trap, just legit.
Yeah.
What would be done? Because I mean, we asked the same questions of Ted,
Mhm.
right, about transparency, and we're going to have any loss and that kind of stuff. So, uh, Kit PNC Bio says Paul's enthusiastic jazz hands make me smile every time. He mimes my inner caffeine deprived morning attitude perfectly.
Nice.
But yeah, the vote did happen, and at least where I was, there was a lot of people doing democracy, which made my little beaver heart very, 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 very happy. So hopefully that was the same all across Ontario, and we'll get our results soon. Before we start with the show, let's say good morning to some kits. Good morning, Kit Lanam. First, Kit Elaine, how are you, my dear? Kit Tavi G, Kit Cassie Lake. See, Cassie Lake was the one that said we looked pretty in pink. Good morning.
Mm.
Good morning, Mohan. Yes, yes, thank you. And good morning to your entire family. Good morning, Kit Dan. Good morning. Who else do we have so far with us this morning? Kit PNC Bio, of course. Good morning to you. And that's, Tim McCaffrey. There you go, Kit Tim, popping in just as I'm saying hello to get us hello. Hey, how you doing, my friend? All right. Well, and good morning, Mateo. I hope you're feeling better. And I hope your class
Mm.
went well. It was class picture day the other day. All right. It's actually been somewhat slow news weekend.
I welcome that. Yeah, I do welcome that because we've been kind of bombarded over the last no, and that was not meant to be satirical in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. But we've been bombarded by news like over the last few weeks. It's just been too much, and trying to deal with it. I think I had a bit of a breakthrough yesterday on something.
Oh,
I'm not gonna talk about
okay.
it, but I had a bit of a breakthrough. And let's just say it kind of somebody pointed something out to me, and I kind of went, "Oh, okay." Didn't think about it that way, and now the gears are turning, and I have some stuff that needs to be addressed,
Oh,
and that's why my mental health is not going to be discussed today.
okay. All right. All right. All right. Let's see. Do I want to start? You know what? I'm going to start with some good news, I think,
I
because,
would like that.
pardon?
I would like that.
Okay. We recently had, on our show, director Jason Carmen. And we've been recommending to you kids to check out the movie Golden Delicious because it is
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic. Well, When I was on the jury for the Real Out Festival, we offered the movie a special prize. We weren't asked to give this one, but we thought it was undeniable and that they deserved it, that we gave the movie an award for the best overall ensemble. Well, the other day, the UBCP ACTRA Awards, so it's a peer adjudicated award show run by the autonomous branch of the UBCP ACTRA, Union of British Columbia Performers, Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, and Radio Artists, had their awards, and they gave awards for 8 performance categories, and the winner for Best Lead Performance in a Motion Picture went to Cardi Wong for Golden Delicious.
Nice.
Can we call it, or can we call it?
Mm-hmm.
Actress Sarah Chalk, whom you might know from The Connors and then earlier Roseanne, won for Best Lead Performance in a Series, Firefly Lane.
She's from Ottawa, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Local lady.
Mm-hmm. Best Supporting Performance for a Motion Picture went to June Bean Wild for a film called Blood. Supporting Performance for a Series went to Gabrielle Rose for The Night Agent. Best Performance Made for Television Movie went to Grayston Holt for House of Chains. The Best Stunt Performance went to stunt coordinator Mike Mitchell and stunt performers Matt Millery and Gerald Pitts and Chris Rebb for The Night Agent. The best short performance went to Jess McLeod for A Little Vacation, and the best voice performance went to Ian Hanlon for The Guava Juice Show. But yeah, Cardi Wong, good for you, man. That's fantastic. And of course, director Jason Cartman is all over the web celebrating. Deservedly so. So, kids, if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, it's available on all streaming platforms right now. So do make some time. It's really worth it. It's a great movie. Also, if we have kits watching today who are from the Sikh community, apparently, according to Gurdeep Bander, it is Gurpurab Day. Happy Gurpurab to everyone. He says that today is a sacred and joyous occasion celebrated by Sikhs worldwide, not worldwide. Gurpurab commemorates the birth anniversary of Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism. To celebrate, he lights candles in his cabin in the Yukon, symbolizing Gurpurab bringing light into darkness. So there you go. And you know what? I'm not Sikh at all, but I'm all pro a little light in the darkness. So this sounds like a wonderful celebration. And for kids who do not know, I learned this a couple of weeks ago. Gurdeep, when he lives in the Yukon, actually has no electricity or running water in his cabin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's living off the land.
He's literally, if this guy is not Canadian, I don't know who is.
Right.
Admittedly, I am way too soft to do that. I mean, if I absolutely had to, yes, I wouldn't, shrivel over and cry and fall apart. But I would rather not. I've gotten quite used to indoor plumbing. Thank you very much, and that's why I don't mind paying taxes. Oh, man. I know what I get for my tax dollars. Thank you very much. I don't have to go outside at -30 when I need to go to the bathroom. I have no problem paying money for
That's
that.
a good thing.
I really don't. All right. What do you have anything this morning, Mr. Grizzly?
Well, I've got a letter to the editor of the Globe and Mail regarding Skippy the Wonder Pigeon and his non-support of Ukraine. And, well, let me just put this on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Pressed on Ukraine trade deal, Pierre Poilievre tells tales. The conservative leader tells tales, insisting on using that false claim, ratcheted the falsehood to new heights, and resorting to fabricating. Maybe I'm impolite, but to me, Pierre Poilievre comes across as a liar. He lies. There. Easy.
Right? I mean, was it MP Mark Miller who said he's a serial bullshitter?
Yeah.
And we saw it this past week. I mean, we really did see it this past week. I mean, he lied about the workers at the plant in Windsor. We started with 2,400, I believe. Then it was 1,600. Now it seems it's 900. The number keeps going down. And these are not temporary foreign workers. Like we think of them, for example, the people that come and help pick fruit and
During the
vegetables
harvest,
out
yeah.
of our, from our fields. These are people that are doing technology transfer and stuff like that. So, for example, if you happen to be working for IBM in Korea, South Korea, and there's a project here and they need to bring you in for a couple of weeks, you come in for a couple of weeks to help do something over here, and then you go back. It's that kind of foreign worker. And the free trade deal with South Korea is completely reciprocal. So we send people over there as well when it's needed. And this will be the first of these plants built anywhere in North America. So there is nobody in North America with the expertise for the initial first setup. So we're bringing in people who've done it before,
Who know how to do it.
who know how to do it. But
It's called experts. Like to use experts to build something that requires expertise.
right. And so what happens is, so the deal is reciprocal. It's those type of foreign workers, which is what completely normal, and it happens all the time. All the time. The number keeps on getting lower and lower and lower. So the more we learn about this, the less controversial it seems. And yet they're still pumping it. And it seems that they're pumping it now so hard that even the people who are representing certain unions think and are outright saying that Pierre Poilievre is essentially full of crap when it comes to this. And Mr. Grizzly, I will send you a little link here to something. It's not visual, it's just audio. But I remember the last time I tried to play something audio on mine, it didn't work. So I'm going to send it to you so it goes through. But this, I believe, is a man called Dave Cassidy. And he is the president of Unifor Local 444. And he actually has, well, anyway, if I'm not sure how, if you have it there, Mr.
Yeah, do you want me to play that video?
Just the clip on the video on the bottom of the 1 minute and 50, not the full, because the full interview is 10 minutes something.
Yeah, okay, it's a clip of about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 1 minute and 50 seconds. Give me a second here till I cue this up, and then we can have a listen to what he has to say. I just got to blow it up a bit here. Oh, that's not working.
Oh, there's no video. It's just sound, so you don't have to blow anything up.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to blow up the frame.
Oh, okay.
That's all. Hang on. Here we go.
So this whole thing with foreign workers coming in, Korean workers coming in with their expertise to help set up the plant, this was not this was not unexpected, correct? I mean, we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, this is nothing new. We go through launches all the time in our facilities. We go through launches. If it's KUKA, maybe we bring people, and I don't know where the people from KUKA are, if they're from Germany, if they're from wherever. I mean, this is nothing right now but political hay. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is asking for a national inquiry, like into this whole situation. I mean, this is a circus around politics, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I don't know what happened. I think it froze.
Oh,
Weird. It just stopped playing.
okay, but you get the gist, right?
Yeah, that's for some reason the clip just went silent.
If that which was happening literally was what was happening, do you not think that the first people screaming would be unions?
Yeah.
The 2,500 Unifor workers that it was said all along were going to get the jobs building the batteries will indeed be local Canadian unionized workers. But if Skippy the Wonder Pigeon manages to interrupt the flow of these workers that would come in to help us, help ourselves, essentially, we're having a Jerry Maguire moment. Help me, help you. Then we don't get the first EV battery plant anywhere in North America.
We don't have the expertise here to build it.
Yeah, but we
don't.
But we also don't get it. And who does that help? Who does that help?
Oil companies? I don't know. It's like, seriously, honestly, I don't know. It's detrimental to the nation, and of course, that gives Skippy a cudgel to hurt the prime minister with. None of this makes any goddamn sense. Oh, right, I know why it makes sense. Because he doesn't give a shit about you.
No. Not at all. Not at all. Jeez.
Never has, never will.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with the Ukraine deal, the free trade agreement, which he allegedly opposes because the evil prime minister, while Ukraine is down on its knees, is shoving this down their throats. They love the shoving down the throat thing. Never mind that the 26 to 27 country members that are members of the EU are also requesting this, and Ukraine is quite fine with this. But notice that Skippy doesn't have anything terrible to say about the leader of France or the leader of Germany or the leader of Italy or the leader of Belgium or the leader of right? They're not forcing Ukraine down to their knees to have to accept this carbon tax. Only the prime minister. And again, that's not happening. And even though these guys know that Ukraine-based media, the Kyiv Independent, is calling this out as full of crap. And if Ukrainian Canadians are not getting their news from Canadian sources and are going to Ukraine-based sources, they're still reading on this. And they're reading about it from a Ukraine perspective, not a Canadian one. And people in Ukraine are telling them that the guy over here is sabotaging them. And they're still at it. Why does Pierre Poilievre suddenly not want Ukrainian votes? It's almost like Andrew Scheer when he says, I don't need those damn Indian votes. It's like he's saying, I don't need those damn Ukrainian votes. And here's the kicker. So the Conservative Party of Canada is traditionally known as being the party that is most stalwart when it comes to Ukraine.
Yes.
Right? And they're just surrendering it totally, which makes absolutely no sense.
I just posted a thread, a tweet thread in the chat that, it basically says the Conservative Party of Canada has been infiltrated. Poilievre is a Russian stooge. Follow the money. Russia was found to be bankrolling the GOP by funneling money through the NRA. And then it just goes on to talk about how the gun lobby is tied in with the NRA, the gun lobby in Canada, the National Firearms Association openly endorses and supports Poilievre and vice versa. And they're getting money through the Russians. So, I mean, all things point to this. Which is maybe why he won't get his Nissy Cop clearance. Or for that matter, wants to investigate anything other than Beijing. He doesn't investigate China. He wants to investigate Beijing. And he refused to investigate Russia. Why do you think that is? I mean, it just kind of suspect, don't you think?
I do. Kits, if you are in the chat, the first link that Mr. Grizzly put up is a link to the full interview with Mr. Cassidy so that you can hear it for yourselves. But here's to the point. I'm sent Mr. Grizzly another link so he can show you some visuals. This is how much the Conservatives are trying to sell this, even though everyone under the sun is saying that they're lying. They sent Andrew Scheer again out, and he actually put out a tweet saying, like, we voted for the bill or something. Great. What was his exact terms? No, don't, not that yet. Not that yet. What did Andrew Scheer say?
I don't know. What did he say?
Right there.
Oh, every single conservative voted for the conservative free trade agreement with Ukraine that was actually about free trade and didn't contain liberal carbon tax ideology. Meanwhile, Putin wins when liberals continue to block Canadian energy and military exports to Europe.
Okay, that last line, completely gratuitous, doesn't mean anything. There is no, again, for the 75th million time, liberal carbon tax ideology. But now look at that. Okay, go up to mine. Mr. Scheer puts that up. Okay, now let's look at the because I got the side by side. This is from Open Parliament. Look what's missing from Mr. Scheer in green. He doctored the image to remove the date of the vote, to show that the vote was in 2017, so that when he says they voted for the deal that didn't contain liberal carbon tax ideology, so people would think that it was the vote that just happened, not the vote 6 years ago. He also strategically clipped the image to not show that the original bill in 2017 was a liberal bill. The original free trade agreement was negotiated with the Liberals and passed. And
Francois Philippe Champagne.
yes, and then he uses two images in his, one where he crops that up and he shows what the conservative vote was, 84 yay, but doesn't show anybody else's vote. But if you go back to the image in which I put the highlights, because he had to go get another one, he also cropped his first image to not show that the vote was unanimous on the bill.
Oops. I went the wrong way.
You have to go back. Yep.
There we go.
In yellow on the bottom, summary. Agreed to, yeas 304, nays 0. So this guy is trying to get virtue. We voted for it. Everybody voted for it the first time, but not everybody voted for it the second time. So it's not even their own bill. He removes the date, and then only virtue signals the conservative vote. This is just how far these people will go to be dishonest. They actually removed the date of the vote and then sampled the gray color with a little droplet and then filled in where they erased the date of the vote with the gray, the same color, to make it look like it always was like that.
They can't even, they're so bad at this.
But
they can't even lie well.
They are and they aren't, right? It takes a geek like me, because I'm on that site all the time. I was like, well, what's first thing I saw? I was like, as soon as I saw that, I go, well, what was the date of that vote? And then I go and look. It's like, oh, the date of the vote is right under the name of the bill, and what
from 7
what
years
number
ago.
it was.
6 years ago, sorry.
Dishonest.
But you know what? They'll sucker people in, right? Because there will people who literally will just take it at face value, who don't have time to go and do the work that you did to prove you lied.
Well, who would have thought of it?
It's Andrew Scheer.
He's showing a thing from Open Parliament. That is a very reliable source. Unless you doctor the image.
I don't even know anymore with these folks. I really don't.
It's
just so absurd. Well, and let's just back this up for a second. I have a video clip here you're going to love, sir.
All right.
You're going to love this. I think you've seen this. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But Robert Fife.
Mm. Is this a historical one? A
Mr.
flashback one?
Polyev the other day made about this treaty, saying that it was going to impose a carbon tax on these poor farmers from Ukraine, which is absolutely not true. Even the Ukrainian embassy had to put out a statement saying there's no carbon tax in this trade agreement.
Fife the knife.
Yeah.
Actually sticking a knife in conservatives for a refreshing change.
Well, he's calling out the lies for being what they are. Lies. And I think he's gone too far. Last week, it was too far. It was first voting against this free trade deal with Ukraine because, there's a carbon tax. No, there's not. Complete bullshit. And then gets caught in a lie about him, saying that a terrorist act was committed when there was nothing to back that up. Well, it was reported by CTV. You're saying CTV is wrong. I think CP had to correct that. I'm going to call Guinness World Records. I'm like, what a fucking child. This man does not deserve to run a Boy Scout troop, let alone a country.
He definitely does not deserve to run a Boy Scout troop. I will not say more about that, but there is stuff going around. Let's just say Dean put it in one of his videos. I actually linked to it. And one of his videos asks to ask about something. And I was like, Now, I'm not going to say it on the show because I personally don't have any data to research it and all that kind of stuff. But if what is being alleged is true, yeah, I would not let him near a Boy Scout troop either. And I know this sounds cryptic, and I'm sorry, kids, but I like to be facts first, and I have no idea how much of a fact this is. But I also know that the Crier Media Network has very, very, very good lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
So if Dean said it out loud, I think my guess would be Mr. Wallace has some receipts on that.
Guaranteed he does.
Yeah. And then over the weekend, what was really interesting is there were some opinion pieces that came out, or maybe Friday, but this is not necessarily on the weekend or that type of thing. But there was one from Bob Hepburn at the Star that says, media fails Canadians by giving a free pass to Pierre Poilievre. That is interesting. Because, it is not untrue that he's been getting one heck of a free pass. And then I think it is Deverin Ross of the Brandon Sun, as in Brandon, Manitoba, has one called A Cruel Attack Based on a Lie. And I would like to read this one to you kids, because it's good. I've seen plenty of politicians act like jerks before, but it has been a long time since I've seen anything as cruel as what I witnessed on Thursday morning. I was scrolling through my Twitter, now known as X, feed on Thursday morning when I noticed a live broadcast of a Pierre Poilievre press conference. The Conservative Party leader doesn't do many pressers these days, so I decided to watch. After a couple of softball questions from right-wing media, the first softly was asked by a reporter from Rebel News. A Canadian press reporter named Paula Loricchio asked Poilievre about his comments following the incident that occurred around noon on Wednesday at the Niagara Falls, Canada-US border crossing. At the beginning of the question period in the House of Commons on Wednesday, the Tory leader asked the Prime Minister this question. We've just heard media reports of a terrorist attack, an explosion, at the Niagara crossing of the Canada-US border. At least 2 people are dead, 1 is injured. It is the principal responsibility of government to protect the people. Can the Prime Minister give us an update on what he knows and what action plan he will immediately implement to bring home security for our people? Now, before I continue with Mr. Ross's column here, I want to add a little insert there. There was there were articles before question period about the explosion, because the explosion happened at 11:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people online referring to an article on CTV that appeared around like 1:09 p.m. They're saying, that's the one he saw. That's the one he saw. And in it, it is written that the Canadian government is working on the assumption that it is terrorism, but we've explained this already. When something goes boom,
Hmm.
especially in this day and age, that's standard operating procedure. That
Yes.
doesn't mean this was terrorism. It's we can't rule it out yet, nor can we rule it in. So we are working on the assumption that this is the worst case scenario
Mhm.
until we have proof confirming it or denying it. His words are, we've just heard media reports of a terrorist attack. That
That's
means
what he
it
said.
was confirmed.
Mhm.
Now, the paragraph right above the one that says that we're operating on the assumption that it is a comment from the governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul, that says, we have no evidence at this time to suggest that this is a terrorist attack. So that cannot possibly be the article to which he was referring, that people, all his minions online, are now backtracking after the fact to keep lying that he was actually factually correct. And now you have all these memes going around and clips. Pierre destroys, and oh my God, what a biased question from the journalist.
Mm.
The journalist's question started with, do you think it's responsible? Do you think it's responsible to have done that before it was confirmed, was essentially the question. Where's the bias?
It's a question. Do you
Where's
think
the
it was
bias in that
responsible?
question? Right? And remember, he said, you have like a terrible fact in that one. It never said what the fact was. You just have a falsehood in your statement. So they're working overtime. The article, and then the next article was the one that appeared at 15 minutes after Pierre said it. And in that one, there was also no confirmation that this was a terrorist attack. In fact, nobody in Canada from law enforcement, from national security, or from government, no official whatsoever, and no media outlet ever said
Confirmed that.
this is for sure a terrorist attack. But he said there were media reports of a terrorist attack. As we stated, the only one that did that was Fox News that we know of.
Mhm.
Apparently, there might have been even more outlets that are more to the right of Fox that maybe also suggested it, but it was Fox. Right? And they did it early. We played the clip for you. Well, on Fox, afterwards, Fox also had a lady confirming around 3 o'clock in the afternoon that the car was packed with explosives.
Mm.
There were no explosives found whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they also confirmed that the two men in the car died. It was a man and a woman. Intelligence briefings. And it seems that we might ultimately discover that the reason for which there was an accident is that there were recalls on these particular models of Bentley because the accelerator would get stuck,
Oh, interesting.
according to the Daily Mail.
Hmm.
So ultimately, that may be the reason. Because everybody was thinking, oh, well, gee, maybe because they were driving to the Kiss concert and it was canceled and they turned around and went to a casino instead, maybe they lost a lot of money and they decided to end it all.
Mm.
It could just very well be that the accelerator got stuck.
Just like literally a freak accident.
But it could also be stroke, heart attack, someone fell asleep,
We don't
a
know.
seizure,
We don't know. Yeah.
right? But no, he ran right away right away to the worst possible interpretation. And, of course, talking about it as if it had happened on the Canadian side of the border, because his question was, everybody said he was questioning the media reports. He was no. His question was, can the Prime Minister give us an update on what he knows and what action plan he will immediately implement to bring home security for our people? And if you watch the question period, because Pierre always starts with his question in French, his question in French simply said, we've heard reports. Can we get an update? But in English, he had all those little extra things. And what can the Prime Minister do? So he didn't ask exactly the same question in French as he did in English. 2 languages, 2 discourses. Let's continue with the article from the opinion piece from Mr. Ross. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responded that he had been briefed by various security agencies and would be receiving additional briefings. Notably, he did not characterize the incident as terrorism. That was a prudent decision, as it was confirmed shortly thereafter that the incident was not terror-related. It is now being investigated as a traffic accident. On Thursday, Laurigio asked Poilievre if it was responsible of him to characterize the incident as terrorism before officials had officially done so. The Tory, no, not Tory. They really need to stop using that word.
Yes.
The Conservative leader immediately went on the attack, accusing the Canadian press of irresponsible journalism and often failing to get its facts right. A new spin on the fake news accusation we see so often from Donald Trump and his supporters. Poilievre then went further, saying that CTV, quote, CTV reported that the government of Canada was presuming that the incident was terrorist. And that's what I said in my remarks. I said there are media reports. But the government did not presume the incident was terrorist. The government was functioning on the assumption.
Which is what you do as a precautionary measure in
Yes.
a circumstance
Presuming and assuming are two different words. He then asked Laurigio, so do you think CTV was responsible in putting up that tweet? And then he links to a recording of the exchange. Poilievre clearly enjoyed his beatdown of Laurigio. He did, because it was the only time he smiled. And he had a little energy, he had a little swagger, a little pump there when he was going, right? Huh? Well, I have to call the Guinness Book of World Records to see if this has ever been done before. But we know his answer was a lie. A CTV News report published late Thursday that CTV News reported, quote, CTV News reported, citing national security sources, that government officials were operating under the assumption that the incident at the Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls was terror-related. This breaking information was first reported on CTV News approximately 15 minutes after Poilievre rose in the House to ask Trudeau about media reports about the terrorist attack. That bit did appear in the 1 o'clock article as well, though. So that one's debatable. But under the assumption, as we've explained many times now, doesn't mean it says it is most definitely a terrorist attack, and that's what we're looking at, and we're only looking at that. Indeed, a CBC report from Thursday said, quote, it appears that Poilievre asked his question in the House before CTV's reporting was published. The timestamp on the article indicates it was published at 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Subsequent tweets from the article's author and CTV itself were published at 2:40, 2:50, respectively. Poilievre asked his question at 2:25 p.m. In short, Poilievre asked Trudeau his question several minutes before the CTV News report was published. He could not have been relying on a report that, when he asked his question, did not yet exist, which means he was relying on the article that came out at 1:09 by April O'Brien, and not the article by Rachel Aiello. By now, you might be asking why any of this matters. Well, there are at least 4 reasons why, and before we go to his article, again, as an aside, when we're doing an investigation, the order in which things happened and the time at which things happened, kind of important.
Yeah.
If you're on trial and you have evidence, the order that things happened kind of matters. People spend a lot of time trying to figure out at what time things happened
Mhm.
and what order things happened. Because why does this matter? It's irrelevant. That's what you're hearing from the conservatives. It's not. It's actually critical. There are at least 4 reasons why it does. First, many opinion polls suggest that Poilievre will be our next prime minister. This may sound old-fashioned, but Canadians are entitled to expect our current and future prime ministers to always tell the truth. In this case, it's clear that Poilievre lied when there was no downside to simply being truthful. That we all suspected it was terrorism when the first reports came out. He didn't have to lie, but he did anyway. Second, the purpose of Poilievre's question to Trudeau wasn't to obtain information, it was to score political points by creating fear among Canadians and to blame the Trudeau Liberals for failing to protect us from terrorists. And we know that was the case because his presser the next day was about Trudeau failing to protect us from terrorists of the IGRC, which he is still calling for, even though he was asked to do it in 2009 and didn't, because of mandatory conscription and the number of people that would involve. But he's still doing it anyway, right?
Mhm.
The problem for Poilievre is that this wasn't terrorism at all, and nor did it happen in this country. I'm not sure what the Prime Minister is supposed to do to protect us from cars going boom in the United States. But anyway,
Yeah.
his cycle of fear-mongering is there for all to see and exposes him as the opportunist he is. Third, his lie isn't an isolated incident. Since becoming Conservative leader, Poilievre has made a series of false statements and factual distortions, all to fuel his assertion that everything is broken in Canada and it's Justin Trudeau's fault. I have debunked many of those false claims in previous columns. Finally, when confronted with this lie on Thursday, Poilievre lashed out at a young female reporter in a casually arrogant and cruel way. Ooh, now that's a nice turn of phrase. Casually
Mhm.
arrogant, and cruel. I doubt he would have done so if he was facing a more experienced male journalist. Boy, beyond that, I wonder how many other women he has treated that way. Now, I think Mr. Ross may have forgotten that Pierre Poilievre's first target for this type of behavior, and I believe it was probably on day 1,
Oh, yes.
was none other than that noted, famous liberal hack, David Aiken.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that didn't go very well for him, but he still tried it with another male when he was in the orchard, but that was just a local journalist, an older.
Who ran like a community newspaper, if memory serves.
So Pierre always picks on people. He picked on someone his own size or bigger, and that didn't work out for him. So now he picks his targets strategically. Mhm.
Yeah.
And bully always picks a fight they think they can win. Mhm. Rarely picks on someone their own size. On Thursday, former National Post columnist John Ivison posted a link to the video of Poilievre's tirade on his X account and wrote, "He could lose this thing if he keeps behaving like this." John's right, but does anybody seriously expect Poilievre to change his conduct? This is who he is. It's up to Canadians to decide if they want that kind of person to be our next prime minister.
It's who he's always been.
Boom. Yeah. It is who he's always been. And he can't change. He can't resist. He can't resist. He could tone it down for a little bit. But I keep on saying, because when he sees an opportunity like this man's nipples get hard and he gets a wet spot somewhere in his pants and he goes for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just cannot resist. And
No, he can't help
no,
himself.
and here's the other thing. When you think about it a little more, he lied his face off even more than we think he did.
Mhm.
Do you think it was responsible for you to call yesterday's explosion by the checkpoint at the Rainbow Bridge terrorism when no U.S. or Canadian officials or authorities said that was the case, and when the New York governor also said there was no terrorism activity? Was literally the question asked by that CP reporter. CP reporter that usually covers court cases. So not a national political, reporter.
No.
Again, not picking on someone your own size. There are absolutely zero falsehoods in that question. Do you think it was responsible? Yesterday's explosion by the checkpoint at the Rainbow Bridge. No U.S. or Canadian officials or authorities said it was the case. And the New York governor also said there was no terrorism activity. Now, articles are often updated. Well, maybe that was added when the article was updated. There's an article from Oregon that was printed at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, for which there were no updates. And that quote from the governor is in there. So it wasn't a quote from the governor asked later that then came in. That quote was made prior to 1:05 p.m. because you have to write the article and then get published. So at least a full hour before Pierre stood up in the House and claimed that. There was one statement from an official, and it was that there was no evidence that this was terrorism. At the time he made that comment in the House of Commons, the only entity speaking of the explosion as a terrorist attack was Fox News, and then again the network stated that it was a source with Fox News, not a source from Fox News. But not even Fox News itself had confirmed it. Right? A source from Fox News confirms this. Didn't say Fox News confirms that there has been a terrorist attack. So even Fox News didn't go so far as saying that they are confirming it, but they were happy to gleefully report anybody else who would.
Of course.
Mr. Poilievre never once cited Fox News as the media outlet whose report he had consumed. In fact, when Mr. Poilievre rose in the House to claim that there were media reports, plural, of a terrorist attack, he did not specify which outlets. Given Fox itself was not even declaring it a confirmed terrorist attack, there were actually no media reports of an attack, as Mr. Poilievre claimed, but rather just one single media outlet outside Canada reporting on what a source who had not been identified by either name or organization, who did not come from Fox but was with Fox, had allegedly said. The journalist's question was 100% factually correct. After being caught in the first lie, the next day after the fact, he identified CTV, not ever mentioning Fox, as the media outlet having issued the report. But Mr. Poilievre's answer was a total lie, proven by the fact CTV, the outlet whose report he had consumed, felt the need to issue a statement denying it had made such a statement, prior to Mr. Poilievre misstating in the House that it was a media outlet that had reported a terrorist attack. The early CTV report to which he referred was essentially stating that because terrorism could not be ruled out, authorities were working on the worst-case assumption that it could be terror, until confirmed or denied. So Mr. Poilievre could only have based his claim in the House of Commons on an existing reporting from just one source, Fox News. Singular. He said media reports, plural, and lied in the House that there were reports when there was only one, which would have made it impossible for him to be aware of any report at all as the CTV reporting was issued after he made that statement. The way he framed it makes it so that he couldn't have been aware of any of them at all. But he was aware of one because he mentioned it. This is how bad he lied. This means he absolutely does get his national security briefings from a source with Fox News. The identity and associations of which he ignores and freaking runs with it. He lied in the House, and then he lied more with new lies to try to fix the old lies during his exchange with that reporter. And the wildest part? He totally sucks at lying, and when you consider how often he does it, it's rather astoundingly funny, if it wasn't so sad, at how bad it is. How bad he is at it. He's a terrible person, and it's hilarious. He's literally just a terrible, terrible person.
He will only do something if it benefits him and screw everybody. He doesn't care. If it benefits him, it's good for him. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. And it's as evidenced by his actions, his words, and his deeds. This is a terrible human being who should not be anywhere near the reins of power of anything. He shouldn't be on a condo board. This is not a good human being. This is a terrible, terrible person who will do irreparable harm to this nation if he's ever given the reins of power. He wants Gilead, and he will make it happen. And people tell me, Paul, you're being a little over dramatic there. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No,
I'm
not at all.
not.
Absolutely.
He just blatantly lied right to our faces, did it time and time and time again, and acts like he's the right one here. He acts like he's won something. What was it? It's like playing chess with a pigeon.
Yep.
The pigeon, shits all over the board, knocks the pieces all over, struts around like he won something.
Mm-hmm. Now, switching over from Pierre, little interesting thing here, Mr. Grizzly.
What's that?
Remember, we talked a few weeks ago about the Premier of Quebec, François Legault.
Mm-hmm.
How all of a sudden he seems to be very, very, very erratic, flip-flopping on stuff, and after a by-election win, we're all wondering why, because he very much was in the lead. 338 Canada published its update on Sunday, and if you look at Quebec, if you go down to the graphs, Mr. Grizzly, a little lower. Yeah, there we go. Popular vote projection. Look at that free fall from the CAQ. That's that blue line.
Mm-hmm. The light blue line.
From September 1st. Just to the point that the Parti Québécois is actually ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say his internals must be awful, that's what we mean. Because here we are, November 27th. And we have the Parti Québécois ahead of the CAQ in the province of Quebec, which means Québécois are really rejecting conservatism, which means that Poilievre has no freaking chance. There, look at that. Odds of election outcome. It's almost a straight line down from September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if there was an election held today in the province of Quebec, the Parti Québécois, which I remind you, only has 4 seats in the legislature and doesn't even have official party status, has 54% odds of getting the most seats. When you see
these numbers are staggering.
When you see polling numbers show that someone's doing really well, but they start behaving weird, it's because they've got something. Well, the polling numbers for Pierre shows that his party's going to win about 200 seats in the next election, but he's behaving like this. I wonder what his internals are saying.
No idea.
But it can't be good. Not if he's behaving like this.
Oh, goodness, no.
Can't be good at all. So keep your eyes, kids. Maybe in a few months, 2-3 months, we might be seeing those that spread narrow significantly. Just keep your eyes open for that, kids. Right? Don't lose hope. It's way early. There's 22 months to go.
Yeah, it's 2 years. Well, almost 2 years away. Yeah.
If he's already screwing up like this,
he's done.
Oh.
Let's move from Quebec to Alberta for a second. I just had something that came across my feed that I'm like, wow. So check this out. I have not verified this.
Yep.
I'm going to look into it, though. But it's like Danielle Smith is quietly giving a former dubious UCP candidate $118 million to build a new boutique charter school in Calgary. Public schools could have added
I think you,
1,881 new
choppy.
teachers, 2,607 new schools.
Could you repeat that, Mr. Grizzly? Because I think your sound went choppy.
Danielle Smith is quietly giving a former dubious UCP candidate $118 million to build a new boutique charter school in Calgary. Calgary public schools could have added 1,881 new teachers, 2,689 education assistants, and 7 new schools. Calgary schools get nothing instead.
Know what else she's doing, eh? Today, she will be invoking her Sovereignty Act, apparently.
Yeah, that's going to go
Because
well.
she doesn't like the clean energy regulations. Again, Danielle Smith with her wonderful can't-do attitude, saying that we just absolutely cannot do this by 2035, 12 years from now. We must absolutely until 2050. So she's going to pass that. And I guess when she invokes the Sovereignty Act to do that, my guess would be is that, I don't know, that the federal government may take that to court to test the constitutionality of her Sovereignty Act. And I have a feeling that that's probably not going to work out too well for her.
Well, I've got verification on this story. This is not a rumor. This is, well, have a look at this from Press Progress. New data shows Danielle Smith's education plan benefits wealthiest socioeconomic households. Percentage of funding to charter schools 3 times higher under Danielle Smith's UCP government compared to public schools.
Mm-hmm.
Following the announcement of a $118 million charter school hub last week, the Alberta government released funding numbers this week showing the UCP government has increased funding for charter schools by 18.6% compared to a 6.83% increase for public schools.
That's very reminding of that thing I showed on housing when the Harper government announced that it was going to give another $7.8 billion to housing to meet the UN's requirements, and then secretly gave 271% more to people of middle and high income than for affordable housing. Oh, yeah, no. We have record funding for public schools because, again, kids, if the funding is $1 more this year than it was last year, and last year was record funding, then it's record funding. Oh, yeah, record funding, but we won't tell them that we're giving 3 times more to chartered schools. Shh, because conservative friends don't tell on friends. Shh.
No. We don't do that.
It's duplicity. Yes, this will be the first time that she invokes the act, and it's pushback, of course. Her consistent threats has been used to act in the hopes of, this is according to the CBC, one of her consistent threats has been to use the act in hopes of thwarting clean energy regulations, the suite of rules designed to implement the Trudeau government's plan for a net zero power grid by 2035. The regulations would put clear limits on when and how emitting power sources, like Alberta's natural gas burning plants, can be used starting in 2035, though it does not ban their use. Doesn't ban their use. The vast majority of Alberta's electricity currently comes from natural gas, and Smith has vowed to do everything she can to fight Ottawa's plans, including an $8 million national advertising campaign urging other Canadians to fight too. That's $8 million that she could use to help reduce the price of heating homes for Albertans. But apparently she has the luxury of spending $8 million in other provinces to boost the economy of other provinces with advertising buys. If you're living in Alberta right now, say, why does the premier of your province spending $8 million not on you?
Well.
and not in
Do we
Alberta.
really need to ask that question? I mean, come on.
It's just, and here's the thing. The new regulations are still in draft form,
Mhm.
but she's planning to introduce that thing today. According to CBC, it's not clear the exact way the United Conservatives intend to empower Alberta to inhibit enforcement of federal regulations, since the Sovereignty Act's resolution's only bearing can be on provincial officials and agents of provincially controlled organizations and whether they enforce federal rules of law, which is what Saskatchewan's Scott Moe is doing when he says we will not collect the tax.
Mhm.
But I don't know how our Sovereignty Act has the reach of saying the federal government can't do a certain thing. She can say that someone in the province can't do a certain, like for example, collect a tax or whatnot, but that the federal government can't. And quote, while the Sovereignty Act would allow MLAs in the legislature to deem the federal CER unconstitutional or otherwise harmful to Alberta, the regulations aren't currently in legal force. They're only in draft form with no clear timeline or when the final regulations will be released. However, the first law Premier Smith passed is permitted to be used against any federal initiative, even if it's only proposed or anticipated, which I'm pretty sure has no basis in law. I mean, she put it in a law and they passed the law, so she goes, it's law, but not sure that that's constitutional. We're going to use a law to preemptively strike against regulations that don't exist yet.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And again, spending money on that. Natural Resources Minister is quoted as, the intention of the clean electricity regulations is to bring clean and reliable power to every region of Canada in a manner that is affordable for ratepayers. We continue to engage on the draft regulations in good faith. That was the communications director for Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, and not Mr. Wilkinson himself. We put that quote out. We all know that good faith is not really a thing with Danielle Smith. So we'll see where that ends up for her. But this is going to be a legal battle. This is the one that allows us to see how constitutional our little Alberta Sovereignty Act is. And like I said, I can't foresee a situation in which this actually works out well for her. It just can't. I mean, things have to happen in a certain order, and this is completely out of order. But then again, so is she. Right? So, Mr. Grizzly, how are we doing on time?
Sorry, I had my mic on mute there. I'm going to have to cut out shortly. I have to go take care of some stuff here. My apologies. Just some business needs to be dealt with.
No worries. One last little point then before we go, because this one we can do quickly. The fall economic statement came out. And without going into too much, because we're not doing a deep dive right now in a couple of minutes, but there were 2 points that came up in Mr. and Chrystia Freeland's. Whoa, Mr. Freeland. Chrystia Freeland's address within the House of Commons. The first one is that the childcare deal appears to be working quite well. We're 2.5 years in, and all across Canada, fees are down by at least 50%. And in 6 provinces and territories where the goal was to reach $10 a day everywhere by 2026, in 6 provinces and territories, they're already at $10 a day.
Wow.
Ahead of schedule. Gee, I wonder what the other 7 could be that are not. I wonder. How many provinces and territories are governed by Conservative premiers?
Most of them.
Yes, no, not all of them, because Quebec has done it,
Mhm.
right? But I have a feeling that Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, now no longer governed by Conservatives, are probably not there yet. but 6 are already there. Which, again, if you happen to be living in a province or territory where they're not already at $10 a day, um, again, I would be calling your provincial representative and asking for a meeting and saying, they've done it in this province and this province and this province 6 times, territory. Why aren't we there yet again? Why are we second-class citizens in our own country? Why have you not made this a priority? Why are you giving an economic disadvantage to our
I
province?
think we know why.
And when it comes to foreign investment, because apparently we're a basket case, everything's broken. But according to the Minister of Finance, in the first half of this year, Canada received the 3rd most direct foreign investment than any other country in the world. More money per capita than any of our G7 allies. In fact, the International Monetary Fund projects that Canada will see the strongest economic growth in the G7 in 2024.
Interesting.
How do we do that if we have so destroyed our economy with reckless inflationary spending that everybody wants to put their money here? Maybe because we are a safe, stable, rule of law country that is ruled by a government that doesn't change policy every 5 or 10 seconds and doesn't introduce uncertainty like an Alberta Sovereignty Act or kneecapping renewables on a whim.
Yeah.
Maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
It's not going to end well for the Conservatives, folks.
No,
It's not.
They're shooting themselves in the foot continually by biting off their nose despite their own faces. And
Yep.
I'm okay with it, actually.
Yep. Keep it up. Keep it up, guys. All right, Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
Oh, Kit Cassie says the daycare deal is fantastic, but Manitoba is difficult to find workers. Pay as low here. Indeed, I can imagine. All right, Kits. Oh, you posted something from Gil McGowan?
Check it out.
All right, we will. Kits and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver podcast. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us because we enjoyed making this for you. Bye, my love. There's my beaver sweetie going to work to mold young minds. I'm so proud of him. Oh, by the way, he got good news too. Next semester, he is going to have a full complement of courses.
Nice.
He moves from being part-time to full-time.
Excellent.
So proud of him. He's been working really hard. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us because we love making this for you. Of course, sharing is caring. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. It really helps. And if you haven't seen it, last week I was on Dean's show. We talked a little bit about
It was
care.
good.
And thank you so much. As always, when that happens, we get a little bump, and we ended up on the charts again. And our YouTube subscribers went up by about 10 or 12 over the course of the weekend, probably as a result of that.
Well, that and the shorts do bring in a lot of new viewers, right?
Yes. The shorts do
They
bring
really
viewers. So whatever you guys are doing, it is working. Thank you very much. We are, I believe, at the moment, fewer than 40 viewers away from hitting that 500 where we can start monetizing our YouTube feed. So please allow that to happen. Everything that you're doing to help us, we really appreciate it. If you would like to not miss a single episode, and you want to get it as soon as it comes, fresh off the bandwidth, you go to our pod page sponsored by the wonderful, delightful, delectable, divine, desirable, the Ray Girl. She's all that.
And a bag of chips.
2 bags of chips even.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just saying. Costco size. So, please go to our pod site, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And like we said, you won't miss an episode. If you would like to smash some buttons, as Kit Elaine says, according to Kit Saucy, we're at 462, 38 to go before cha-ching time. Yay! Oh man! If you would like to help us more on our YouTube page to help us get there, then like, share, subscribe buttons are there. Please smash them. Make like Kit Lane and do that. That helps us a lot. And if you would like to help us financially a little bit and make a contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, then that squiggly by Mr. Grizzly's head brings you to our coffee page. That's coffee spelt ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. We're getting close to the end of the month. We got to pay the rent. So if you can help, that would be really appreciated. And if you can't, that's okay too. Just the gift of your attention is the most important gift, and the word of mouth, as we say, priceless. Because democracy is something that you do. If you're in Ontario, take the day off. Do something fabulous for yourself. You voted in the leadership race. That's good. Got to take a break now and then. Go get your XBB shots, though, your flu shot, your pneumococcal shots, your RSV shots. Very, very, very important. So make sure that we keep our hospitals unclogged. And, of course, donate to the Red Cross because the need is still great. I think that's probably it for me. And if you want to write us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Please do. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. Mr. Grizzly, I see you have the hot pack around you, the little magic bag around your neck there. Do you have some words of wisdom for us?
Take some time for yourself today. That's all I got.
All right. Take some time for
A
yourself.
lot of stuff going on up here right now.
Yeah. All right. Sir, giving you a big hug. Hope that helps.
Thanks.
All right. Roll the credits, please.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community and forum, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from fresh farm ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Before you go, Mr. Grizzly, are you available this evening?
I could probably make some time for you. Yeah.
Okay. Probably around 9 o'clock our time or so. The gentleman.
Well, 9:30 I do the ASMR.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I can push it till tomorrow.
Okay. Tim Kretzmann, who is the gentleman who did that video, TikTok video, has agreed to an interview, and he's available this evening. So we will be recording that and presenting that to you, kits. Also, before we go, a big congratulations to our para athletes who at the Para Pan Am Games finished in 8th place on the medal total with 9 gold, 15 silver, and 28 bronze for a total of 52 medals, including a gold in women's gold ball, which qualifies them for the Paralympics, defeating the United States. And a bit of love to our good friend Devin Haru, who got robbed on his last day there and had his 2 cell phones taken, so he was not able to offer the coverage of the last day like he would have wanted. He's okay, which is good, but he's basically flying here, and he's basically packing in another suitcase and off to his next event 3 hours later. So
busy fella.
Yeah, busy fella. All right, kids, have a beaverific day. And again, as the note says, be alert. The world needs more alerts.
See ya.